When you close your eyes to pray, something profound happens in the spiritual realm. Your physical vision may go dark, but spiritually, your sight becomes clearer. At that exact moment, demons either flee in fear or move closer to launch an attack. This depends entirely on the state of your heart when your eyes shut. During my 12 years as a witch in Lagos, Nigeria, one of my main roles was to monitor Christians during their prayer times. I specifically watched what occurred the moment they closed their eyes. The kingdom of darkness understood something that most believers never realize. When you close your physical eyes, you're making a spiritual choice. You are deciding to see with your spirit rather than with your flesh. That decision either invites God's presence or opens a door for demonic interference. I watched countless Christians, and in some cases, when they closed their eyes, light exploded around them. Angels stood guard, and demons scattered. But for others, darkness crept closer as spirits whispered accusations and doubts multiplied. The difference wasn't in simply closing their eyes. It was in the condition of their hearts behind those closed eyelids. When eyes close to pray, something powerful takes place. For witches like me, we understood the significance of this moment. It was a crucial point of vulnerability, a split second between transitioning from the natural realm to the spiritual one. During this brief space, the condition of a person's heart plays a vital role. If someone's heart is burdened with bitterness, unforgiveness, doubt, or hidden sin, that moment becomes an open door for attack. This was something we knew well in our coven. We were taught that when someone closed their eyes, they entered a state of vulnerability. The purity of their heart at that moment determined whether their prayer would become a source of spiritual strength or a moment where demonic forces could attack. That brief instant between closing eyes and fully entering prayer was a window of opportunity, a time when, if the heart wasn't aligned with God, demonic forces could slip through unnoticed. The first reason why closing your eyes to pray matters spiritually is because it signifies the surrender of natural sight. In the physical realm, we rely on our eyes to navigate and assess the world around us, to judge distance, and to identify potential dangers. But when we close our eyes, we make a deliberate choice to stop relying on what we see with our physical eyes and instead place our trust in spiritual sight. This act of surrender either sharpens our spiritual perception or creates spiritual blindness. When our hearts are pure, closing our eyes enhances our ability to see spiritually. But if there is hidden sin or impurity in our hearts, closing our eyes can invite spiritual darkness, giving demons the opportunity to operate undetected. I once watched a woman named Blessing in Abuja. Every morning, she closed her eyes to pray for 30 minutes. The moment her eyelids shut, light radiated from her, and angels surrounded her. I couldn't approach her. Why? Because before she closed her eyes, she always prayed, "Lord, search my heart. If there's anything in me that displeases you, reveal it and cleanse me." That simple prayer of preparation made her closed eyes impenetrable to demonic forces. The second reason closing your eyes during prayer matters is because it either creates focus or invites distraction. When we shut our eyes, our minds either focus on God or wander to other thoughts, often worldly concerns. In our coven, we knew that the first 30 seconds after someone closed their eyes were critical. If their mind wandered immediately to thoughts of bills, work problems, or personal arguments, we had an opportunity to infiltrate their thoughts. We could magnify those distractions, turning their time of prayer into a worry session rather than a time of spiritual connection. One individual I observed, a businessman named Stephen from Port Harcourt, faced this struggle daily. Every evening, he closed his eyes to pray, but the moment he shut them, his mind was flooded with business concerns. He never truly prayed. Instead, his eyes were closed, but his mind was consumed by worry. His prayer time became a moment of spiritual vulnerability, not strength. We used this to plant seeds of anxiety and fear, keeping him distracted and weakening his connection with God. The third reason closing your eyes to pray is significant is because it represents either intimacy or isolation. God desires closeness when we close our eyes. He wants us to shut out the distractions of the world and draw near to Him. However, if we close our eyes while carrying offense, bitterness, or unforgiveness in our hearts, we're not drawing nearer to God. We're isolating ourselves spiritually. This isolation creates a vulnerable space. I remember a woman named Linda in Enugu who closed her eyes every night to pray, but she refused to forgive her sister who had betrayed her. Each time Kioma closed her eyes to pray, Instead of entering God's presence, she replayed the offense in her mind. Her closed eyes became a prison of bitterness, and we used that bitterness to block every blessing she sought through prayer. The presence of God couldn't fill her heart because unforgiveness had created a barrier. The fourth reason why closing your eyes during prayer matters is because eyes are spiritual gates. Proverbs 20:12 tells us, "The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both." Our physical eyes and spiritual eyes are intertwined. When we close our physical eyes, our spiritual eyes should open. However, if our heart is impure, spiritual blindness occurs, even when our physical eyes are shut. In Matthew 6:22-23, Jesus speaks about the eye being the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. This isn't just about our physical sight, but about the condition of our spiritual perception. When we close our eyes with a pure heart, our spiritual eyes open, and we can discern clearly in the spiritual realm. But when we close our eyes with an impure heart, darkness creeps in, and we become spiritually blind, unable to see the demonic forces at work around us. Let me share what we, as witches, could see when Christians closed their eyes to pray. When a person with a pure heart closed their eyes, we saw a light barrier form around them. Their closed eyes signaled to heaven that they were ready to receive, and the atmosphere around them would shift. Angels would position themselves around them, and we were forced to retreat. But when a person with an impure heart closed their eyes, we saw cracks in their spiritual covering. These cracks, created by unforgiveness, pride, secret sins, or bitterness, allowed us to slip through. In these moments, we whispered doubts and planted distracting thoughts. We reminded them of their past failures and accused them of hypocrisy. Since their spiritual eyes were blind, they couldn't discern that these thoughts weren't their own. They assumed it was just a bad prayer day. In truth, they were under spiritual attack, unaware of the forces trying to weaken their prayers. I will never forget Pastor Emmanuel in Ibadan, who always closed his eyes when he prayed. Whether in public or private, he would tightly squeeze his eyes shut, lift his face toward heaven, and pour out his heart. For months, I was assigned to weaken his ministry by attacking his prayer life. We believed that if we could corrupt his prayer time, we could corrupt his preaching. Every Sunday, before he preached, he would close his eyes and silently pray for 5 minutes. During those 5 minutes, I tried everything: distractions, doubts, fears, but nothing worked. His closed eyes were like a fortress, and I couldn't break through. Then one Sunday, something changed. As he closed his eyes to pray, I felt a small crack open in his spiritual covering. I slipped closer and realized what had happened. Earlier that week, he had an argument with his wife and never apologized. He carried that unforgiveness into prayer. The moment he closed his eyes with that unresolved bitterness in his heart, I gained access. I magnified his irritation, replayed the argument in his mind, and his prayer lost its power. His preaching that day was flat, lifeless. He felt it, and so did the congregation. This experience taught me a powerful truth. The purity of the heart matters more than the position of the eyelids. Now, let me expose 5 spiritual attacks that occur when you close your eyes to pray with an impure heart. The first attack is immediate distraction. The moment you close your eyes, your mind may flood with random thoughts, to-do lists, worries, and anxieties. This isn't just your mind wandering, this is demonic diversion. Demons inject these thoughts to steal your focus before your prayer even begins. The second attack is accusation and condemnation. As soon as your eyes shut, a voice in your mind may say, "You're not worthy to pray," or "God won't listen to you. You're a hypocrite." These aren't your own thoughts, but demonic accusations meant to paralyze your prayer. The third attack is the sudden replay of offenses. When your eyes close, you may suddenly remember everyone who has hurt you. All the betrayals, disappointments, and grudges flood your mind, preventing you from entering God's presence because you're trapped in bitterness. The fourth attack is physical discomfort. As soon as your eyes close, you may experience sudden pain. Your back hurts, your knees ache, your nose itches. These distractions break your concentration and shorten your prayer time. Lastly, the fifth attack is sleepiness and heaviness. As soon as you close your eyes, an overwhelming drowsiness hits, and you can barely stay awake. This is not fatigue. It's a spirit of slumber sent to shut down your prayer time. However, let me also share what happens when you close your eyes to pray with a pure heart. The first change you'll notice is immediate peace. As soon as your eyes close, a wave of peace will wash over you. Isaiah 26:3 promises, you will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. This peace is evidence that your heart is aligned with God. The second transformation is heightened spiritual awareness. As your physical sight dims, your spiritual sight sharpens. You begin to sense God's presence, hear His voice, and perceive spiritual realities more clearly. The third shift is the activation of angelic forces. In the spirit realm, angels respond to prayers that come from a pure heart. They stand guard, carry your words to heaven, and execute God's assignments. The fourth change is the retreat of demons. Demons cannot tolerate the presence of God. So when you close your eyes with a pure heart and invite God's presence, they flee. Lastly, the fifth result is breakthrough acceleration. Your prayers don't just rise, they penetrate, they shatter strongholds, and they release answers. The Bible shows us that prayers offered with a pure heart have the power to break through spiritual barriers. Throughout Scripture, we see various prayer postures. Jesus, at times, looked up to heaven when he prayed, such as when he raised Lazarus in John 11:41. Other times, he fell on his face, like in Gethsemane in Matthew 26-39. David said in Psalm 141-2, "May my prayer be set before you like incense. May the lifting up of my hands be like the evening sacrifice." What truly matters in prayer isn't the position of the body, but the posture of the heart. Whether you pray with your eyes open or closed, if your heart is pure, your prayer will be powerful. However, if your heart harbors sin, it doesn't matter whether your eyes are open or shut, the prayer will be weak. I want to tell you about someone who discovered this powerful truth. A woman named Stella in Nairobi struggled with her prayer life for years. Every time she closed her eyes to pray, her mind was flooded with distractions. She felt condemned, sleepy, and unworthy. She believed there was something wrong with her prayer life, but she didn't know why. One day, her pastor taught about examining the heart before prayer. That evening, Akini prayed, "Lord, search my heart. Show me if I am carrying anything that shouldn't be there." Immediately, the Holy Spirit revealed to her that she was holding unforgiveness against her mother. She had been hurt deeply but had refused to release that bitterness. Akini spent the next hour repenting, forgiving, and releasing the bitterness she had held on to. Then, for the first time in years, she closed her eyes to pray and felt a profound sense of peace. She felt God's presence in a way she had never experienced before, and her prayers became clear, focused, and powerful. Akini's breakthrough came not because she learned a new prayer technique, but because she learned to guard her heart before closing her eyes. Within weeks, the prayers she had longed to see answered began to manifest. Her marriage healed, financial doors opened, and her health was restored, all because she took the time to examine her heart and ensure that no bitterness or unforgiveness remained. This is the lesson I want to share with you today. My own turning point came when I was assigned to monitor a young intercessor in Lagos named Georgia. She was part of a midnight prayer group that was so powerful, it was affecting our operations. I was tasked with corrupting her prayer life. Every night, Funmi closed her eyes to pray with such fire and passion that it shook our entire region. I tried everything to distract her: disruptions, accusations, and even physical discomfort, but nothing worked. Then one night, I watched her pray and realized the secret. Before she closed her eyes, she always spent several minutes in worship. Her worship created an atmosphere of purity around her, and by the time she closed her eyes, she was already in God's presence. There was no vulnerability, no opening for attack. Her closed eyes became a seal of protection, not a portal for demonic intrusion. This taught me a vital lesson: worship before prayer, purity of heart, and sincere surrender make closed-eye prayer unstoppable.